Hello, dear ones. I recently sent out a newsletter with the title, As the World is Crumbling, We Are Rising. And I think it's a very appropriate title for what's going on in the world. If you consider yourself amongst those of us who are rising. But what are we rising from or out of? And of course, it can really only be our own ashes. It's like we have to become the phoenix rising out of our own ashes. And what are these ashes? In my experience, for many, many years, it's rising out of that whole false sense of self, that whole false identity that feels separate or separated from the divine, which is really what is going to rise. It's always risen. The divine cannot be risen and expanded and be everything it already is. It's not something we can make happen or do. It is there, it is here, it is everywhere. And it can only be up to us to start disidentifying with this coat or this garment called our name, our gender, our role. That is what is crumbling. That is what is falling apart or coming off. It does feel like a garment sometimes, where this whole false identity that we have been believing that's literally who we are. So it's not something you just do in one meditation, unless you're very lucky, where everything just comes, the light comes through. I did have one of those awakenings in Denmark many years ago, and it lasted for several months. I have some videos on it here also, but it was not enough. What it did, that light literally brought everything up to the surface that had been hiding in the darkness, all my insecurities, all my this, all my that, and I had somebody take over my life for 5 months, and I was in the absolute darkest hell. And so that's what it was like back then. There weren't many people I could reach out to. Um, it was kind of, it wasn't the most common thing back then. It's much more common now, and many more people are talking about it. So it is that false sense of self, that garment that we have identified ourselves with, that is coming off. And you might notice it as the light is coming in. There's more space between who we are as the divine, as the I am presence. It's the light, it's like it's shining more out. So um, that dark garment, it's not as dark anymore. We can start seeing it, where before it was so in our face and everywhere that we didn't have that space. We do have that now, and we have it more and more. And if you are sensitive, you're probably also aware of this, that suddenly you feel more like, oh, I am this, I'm not that. That's the false identity. So rising out of the ashes is, so when that garment just falls down, like that's what is crumbling as our identity here and also in the world. The world has also been carrying or been wearing the false dark garment. That's why we have not really been able to see what is here, the kingdom of heaven. Like, oh, that's my favorite. I hadn't shared that for a while, from the Gospel of Thomas. The kingdom of heaven is spread all over the earth, and man and woman cannot see it. That's why we are lost in the world. We cannot see it. We are lost in what I call the matrix. And when you can only see the matrix through your five sense mind, you cannot see that heaven is already here. It's impossible. So we need to take off the garment here that is like a dark veil that covers what is here. So when we look out there, what we're seeing is a veil in front of our eyes, or as our eyes, or through our eyes. How do you speak about this when it's on a different dimension? But what we see is seen with our third dimensional eyes, with our five sense mind, which is duality, which is the matrix. It is not the higher dimension where these things do not exist. So the importance of first creating that gap between who we are and that garment, the ashes, as it's coming off, as it's burning off, the light is just shining. And it's just, we can say it starts burning, and then we have the ashes, right? And then we just realized, oh my gosh, I was here all the time. But I was so focused on this garment that was just nothing. When I started really seeing it and seeing through it, it just dissolves. It's nothing. And that is also how it is with all these unresolved, unintegrated, unhealed parts of us and emotions inside. As long as we have not been able to transform them and integrate them and heal them, that is what we are seeing through. So if you have some serious unresolved issues, maybe from your childhood and your father, there's a very good chance that when you look into the world, that is how you see what's going on. That's what you see is happening. And that's why you may be afraid of some of these people who are, in command of certain things, or you may be very angry and you want to fight them because that still lives in you because it was never resolved. When you were young, your father was not acknowledging you. Your father was like a tyrant and he was telling you what you should do. That was my father. And for a long time, of course, I was projecting that out, about angry men. They're like just telling you what to do. And I had to work through that so that now when I look out, I may see things, but there's nothing in me that gets triggered. Let me correct that. I can definitely be triggered, but it's nothing like it used to be. It's like very short-lived, and I can just kind of scoop it up and be present with it almost instantly. Very little passes by me and gets me without me being able to get it first, so I could fully be present with it. And then it dissolved. Then the ashes, then it just turns into ashes because it's really nothing. A memory is not something tangible, but it's still very, very real. I'm not going to, undermine it or reject it. But when you do that inner work, these things just kind of drop off. They're ashes, and then you will notice that it feels like you have risen up because suddenly you are becoming that consciously, which you always were, and now you can just be it more consciously, and of course more light comes out. So as we see the world crumbling and falling apart, that is a reflection of us also. We are coming apart. It's a blessed thing. I talk to a lot of people, and some clients, some friends, some acquaintances, and a lot of people are experiencing that it's like there is a separation happening, and so that makes us more available to realize who we are and bring our attention there. And then, of course, we bring that into the world as more light. And then, because we are more light, we might notice that people's stuff may come up around us, sometimes towards us, and because it's simply coming up, but it's not personal to us. If we can just rest more in our true divine essence, it becomes very impersonal. We don't necessarily take it in anymore. We don't get hurt by it anymore. I mean, we may not like it. I'm not saying you're gonna love it when people do weird things, but it doesn't have that grip, where you want to fight them, or you want to run, or you want to whatever it is. That is what's dissolving. Those are the ashes. And that's what you can just let come off you, and then just keep rising into your true being. And the more of us do that, the more light we bring to the world. And, it's maybe more darkness is going to come out. I don't think we have come to the bottom of what's going on out there yet. So please be aware that the more you clear out your separate sense of self, your false identity, and let that just come off as ashes, you are making a huge difference in the world. And then you are not going to be so impacted by it anymore. You will just walk around as stillness, as presence, as love, whatever flavor it shows up in you. And you are not going to be pulled in by the world in the way that you may still be if you have not helped resolve and integrate those parts that are very, very upset, very, very angry, very, very scared. Those are all our internal experiences because we have not fully healed them yet. And that's why this work is really, really important if we want to really see a change happening on our planet. It is simply up to you and I, and that we become a higher frequency where we are not being impacted so much. And again, I'm not pretending we may not be impacted by it in certain ways, but it does not have that grip where we just want to fight it and run from it, or, whatever it is. That will drop away. And there is a lot of it right now. And I hope that those people who are in the grip of it will be able to see that they're basically in the grip of their own unhealed, unintegrated memories and traumas from the past. Once you see it, you just want to heal it, because you see, I don't want to add to that mess out there. I want to become the light. I want to heal myself. I want to rise from the ashes of my own past, unhealed past. That's what we rise from. And my friends, we can do this together. And I very much encourage it. So having said that, tomorrow is the first Tuesday of the month. That's the day that I offer an online gathering where we can meet each other live, Zoom live, not personal live, but still we will be able to interact. And I'll put the link in the description if you feel moved to join. It's called Feel Your Deepest Longing, Find Your Spiritual Calling. And that is why we go inside. Underneath all the rubble, there is this gem that has a whole new expression that wants to come out. And that's what I want to support everybody in accessing. All right. I hope that is meaningful to you. I would, of course, love your commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff to keep my channel more alive, more engaging, more findable. The more people like it and comment, it goes into a different kind of algorithm, I think, and then more people will be exposed to it. And I mean, I think this is important information to bring out there. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. So if you feel moved to help me with that, please share and subscribe and like. All right. Have a blessed day.